NFL free agency continues here in the NFL offseason, and I'm here to answer your questions when it comes to the Washington Commanders as the NFL draft gets closer and closer by the day. Before I get into the questions for this week's Q&A, go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't already to join the most interactive Commanders fan community here on YouTube. We do these mailbags every single week to give you guys a voice on the channel, all right? I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing what you want to talk about and all these different things you have questions on. I love talking with you. I love talking Commanders football with you guys. So if you want to join our family today and get your question on next week's Q&A, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. We'll start with Jonathan Taylor here. He says, I would only want Jonah Elliss if he is there in the 4th round. I went back over his technique, and he just will struggle to be a number 2 or 3 edge rusher on any team, which B plus could. What is that? I don't even know what that symbol is. But here's what I'll say, Jonathan. As somebody that has watched his film from last season, the last couple games of his career at Utah, he was dealing with a very major shoulder injury that he was playing through. Couldn't use the shoulder at all. And I think a lot of people are watching those games when evaluating him, and I think that's unfair to his evaluation. Now, and honestly, the first game I watched of Jonah Elliss was when he was dealing with that shoulder injury, and I was like, why is this guy being projected as a day 2 pick, right? I didn't get it. But then I popped on a couple of games before his injury, and he was unbelievable. All right, he's got great size. I think that he's got a great rip move, good swim move. He's got a bunch of different moves at his disposal, and even better yet, he knows when to deploy those moves, in my opinion. All right, so when I look at him on film, you're not going to see him be like Chop Robinson, right, where he's going to get a great get off, and then he's going to use Ben to kind of run around the offensive tackle and get to the quarterback. That's not Jonah Ellis' game. Jonah Ellis' game is to win with power and to win with finesse and win with his hand-fighting ability, and he does that consistently on film before his shoulder injury when he could actually use his shoulder. So I'm a big believer in Jonah Elliss personally. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. And if you disagree with me, Jonathan, perfectly fine with that. I have no qualms about anyone disagreeing with me, but I feel pretty darn confident where I stand with what I've seen on film, and I like Jonah Elliss quite a bit. Then we got one from Koopa. He says, could you see us trading back with Minnesota and take J.J. McCarthy at number 11? Is McCarthy really that much lower than May and Daniels? Yes, he is. He really is. It's not that I hate McCarthy, all right? I just put out a scouting report video on McCarthy on the channel earlier this week, and, there's some good things about him. He's got good size. He's got a good arm. He's a good runner of the football. I think that he's pretty darn good pre-snap. He's good at reading defenses before the ball is snapped and knows where to put his eyes and where his first read is. The problem with McCarthy is he's not fully developed as a post-snap processor, and he's got significant accuracy issues outside the numbers and deep down the field, in my opinion. All right, so those 2 red flags put him significantly lower than May and Daniels, at least on my big board. I think May and Daniels have not only more ceiling, but also have a higher floor. So for me personally, I am not considering trading down whatsoever. If you're sitting at number 2 and you need a quarterback and you could choose between Drake May and Jaden Daniels, it just doesn't make sense to trade down. I would rather stay put. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Would you trade back and draft J.J. McCarthy at number 11? Type A if you would approve of that decision, or type D if you would decline that decision and stay at number 2. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. All right, so now let's get to a $5 super chat from my man Lonnie Broom. It says, hey, Jack, how do you rank the Commanders' defense so far? So if I'm comparing the Commanders' defense to the rest of the NFL right now, I would say the best case scenario, what you're hoping for, is league average defense. Now, that might sound underwhelming, all right, but look at what they have right now. All right, you have Dorrance Armstrong as your number 1 edge rusher. I mean, I like Dorrance as a number 2, but he's not going to be your true number 1. All right, he's just not. And then Cleveland Ferrell as your other edge rusher that's going to probably take significant snaps. I mean, seriously? I mean, I think he's more of a rotational guy, and then I like Fowler Jr., Dante Fowler Jr. as a rotational piece, but it's just underwhelming at that point at that position. And I do understand you have Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen on the interior, but if you're going to be relying on your interior guys for most of your pressure when you're rushing with only 4, that's a recipe for disaster. And then also the cornerback room is very suspect. Right now it seems like they're going to plan on Emmanuel Forbes to be the number 1 option at corner. And if he doesn't pan out, it's like we got A.J. Brown in this division, man. We're going to have either Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors or maybe even Marvin Harrison Jr., if you believe some of the rumors out there in this division moving forward, right? So this is going to be something where Emmanuel Forbes is going to have a lot of pressure on him heading into next year. And if he's not up to it, we're going to be in trouble, at least in my opinion. So I say right now, you're hoping for top 15, top 20, decent level defense heading into year 1 of the Dan Quinn era. Then we got one from Cassie. Producer Coop actually got her question on here. Says, what's your prediction on season record currently with the predicted players being signed? So right now, it's so hard to answer this question because you just don't know if the quarterback that they're going to draft is going to be good right away. Some of these guys take even 2 to 3 years to develop into legitimate good quarterbacks in this league. It takes time with some of these guys. But if I'd have to predict right now, I'd say they'd be anywhere between 6-11 and 10-7, depending on how the quarterback plays and how the draft ends up for them. So I really do think the draft is going to be massive for this football team this year. I'm a believer in Dan Quinn long term, but this is definitely going to be a rebuild here. They're not going to be winning the Super Bowl this season. I'm not going to kind of put those projections and those expectations out there. I believe in this head coach long term, but there might be a couple of bumps along the way. Let's put it that way. So we got more questions to come here on the Commanders Report live mailbag coming up here, but make sure you guys click that subscribe button because we're just getting started with our draft content here from the Commanders Report. We got a bunch of stuff already on there, a bunch of mock drafts, a couple of positional ranking videos. We got a bunch of scouting reports. We just put one out on J.J. McCarthy earlier this week. We have Jaden Daniels and Drake May and even Caleb Williams on the channel as well. So we've already put out a bunch of great draft content, and it's just going to keep on coming every single day for free here on YouTube. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now for 100% free Commanders content all throughout the 2024 offseason. Then we got one from Commanders fan number 1. He says, if you were to draft anybody, who would it be? Caleb Williams. All right, if I have the chance to draft anybody in this draft, I'm taking Caleb Williams. He has the highest grade of any quarterback I have ever evaluated for the draft, and I've been doing it for 8 seasons. All right, so he has a higher grade than Joe Burrow for me. He has a higher grade than Trevor Lawrence for me. All right, he has a higher grade than Kyler Murray. All right, he has the highest grade I've ever given to a quarterback prospect because he does pretty much everything well. All right, incredible playmaker. Everybody knows about that. But what really goes underrated with Caleb is his ability to beat you from the pocket. Perfect pocket footwork, can go through a full field progression. And, he likes to go out and play hero ball from time to time. I mean, last year he had to score 50 points or his team would lose. His defense was so bad. And that's kind of where that comes from. I don't think that's going to be a problem in the NFL. I think he's a really special player. And if the Commanders can somehow find a way to trade up for him, I would be pretty damn happy about that, man. Then we got one from Thorny45. Says, I hear the Steelers are interested in trading their first rounder for Scary Terry. Should we take it? No, I wouldn't. If I were Adam Peters, you look at your wide receiver room right now, and you look at the offense that's coming in here with Cliff Kingsbury, who likes to use 4 receivers at a time. You can make an argument the Commanders need to add in the wide receiver room, not send somebody away, especially a guy like Scary Terry, who's had over 1,000 yards receiving in the last 4 seasons, and he's done it with really subpar quarterback play, right? So I think that you get the right quarterback in here that can develop a nice connection with Scary Terry. I think he's going to explode. He's going to have just an incredible run here in Washington, and I want him in a Commanders uniform, so I would not trade Terry McLaurin if I had the opportunity, even for a first-rounder. So would you trade McLaurin for a first-round pick? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Type T if you would trade him, or type P if you're going to pass on an opportunity to trade him. Remember, he has 2 years left on his contract, and the Commanders are entering a rebuild. So keep that in mind before you give your answer. Let me know down there in the comments section. Then we got one from Rex who says, do you believe the quarterback we pick will start this season? My fear is Mariota will start. You and me both, Rex. I do not want Mariota to start. All right, if you guys watched our breaking news video on the Marcus Mariota signing, I'm not a big fan of Mariota. I think he stinks. All right, so if the rookie quarterback can't go in there and win the job outright to start the year, that's going to be a little bit concerning to me because I don't think Mariota can play. And I think they're way overpaying him. And I think any game that Mariota probably plays for this football team, I think you can chalk it up as a loss. All right, so even if he does start the season, I don't expect him to win many games or even play in many games. I do think the rookie will take over relatively early heading into next year. Then we got Brooke Vasquez here. He says, what is a cornerback that you're hoping falls to round 2 for the Commanders? This one's pretty easy for me, Kool-Aid McKinstry. And the reason why I say Kool-Aid is because he is very aggressive, very physical, long arms, great run defender. He reminds me a lot, actually, of Joey Porter Jr. coming out of Penn State last year. And he was one of the best coverage corners in press man coverage last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had an unbelievable rookie season, and he looks like a legitimate number 1 corner in this league. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry could do something similar for sure. I think that he is awesome as a player, but he has a foot injury that he's been dealing with. Wasn't able to work out at the combine because of it, and I'm worried that's going to drive down his draft value, which would be a good thing for the Commanders, because if that happens, he could be there at 36 or even at number 40, and I would think that he would be the perfect fit to pair with Emmanuel Forbes in this defense. So I'm hoping Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama falls to the Commanders there in round 2. So now it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comments section, who do you want to fall to the Washington Commanders in round 2? Let me know down there in the comments section a player that is projected to go round 1 right now that you're hoping falls to round 2. Can't wait to see some of the names down there in the comments section. And that's going to be it for today's show, guys, and this week's mailbag. I appreciate all of your support, and I thank every single person that submitted questions for this week's Q&A. And until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders.